Welcome in, everyone. You have Team Jennifer on the call this afternoon, evening for our second of four August setups. It's so good to see you all here. Um, we are Team Jennifer. You've got Team Jennifer in the house tonight. So I'll be on screen. I'll be your on-screen facilitator. This is a mics off, cameras off event. So you adjust your volume as needed. Make sure that you have Elizabeth, you're making me laugh. Make sure you've set your chat to everyone because we do a lot of chatting through that. In the chat, the other facilitator on the call, my dear friend Jennifer Krippner, and she is in travel mode right now for her other job. So she is going to be supporting your journey in the chat and sharing links and all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, it's the time of the year, right? Like we're seeing that calendar page turn. I actually have my grandkids next week because their mama goes back to work. I'm getting her classroom ready for the new year. So yeah, sorry teachers, you're back, but you've got our love. So make sure that chat is set to everyone. If you see your name to host and panelist, it'll just come to Jennifer and myself, which is fine. But we do share a lot of ideas, and we support each other through that chat. So we like it to say everyone. So there's been some decluttering and some sticker findage, and we're ready to use some stickers. So yeah, and then I want to give a welcome. Vilma said, "This is my first time." She dropped that in the chat. So we want to welcome her. And then anybody else who is sitting in this social for the first time, please drop a me in the chat if that's you, because this community wants to welcome you. And we keep these appointments with ourselves because it helps us make sure that we are utilizing our journal. And it's kind of, we're accountability buddies. We are, when we set this appointment with ourselves, we're prioritizing our self-care. When we say, that this journal journey is important. And so this is a great way to carve out that time so that you can be intentional and get the most out of these beautiful journals. Okay, and we've got hello, Sue. We're glad to welcome you. And we want to invite you back. So we have 4 monthly socials every month. And then each week we'll have 3 weekly setups where we will set goals and habits and activities for the week. Both sessions, both kinds of sessions, always offer ideas from Sonder Club members. So you're going to see a lot of ideas. You're going to be invited to use your pages just as they are, but many of us might tweak something or repurpose it to fit in our lives. And so we're going to show you some of those things tonight as well. So yeah, we've got lots of resources in the Sonder community. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back and watch this as well as hundreds of other pre-recorded socials. I always say one of my pro tips is, if you need a little pick me up, maybe you go find an old journal themed social where we worked on bravery prompts or alignment prompts, and go back and watch that, because that content is just evergreen. It never expires. Well, Elizabeth says she's got a Sonderversary. Happy Sonderversary. August, that's a fun milestone. And I'm also gonna ask you if you have something real important in August, like a birthday or an anniversary? Drop that in the chat and let's celebrate that together since we're all together. I am getting ready to celebrate my 42nd wedding anniversary, August 13th. And I tell y'all the joke every year. My husband says, we've been happily married 35 years. And people go, wow. And then it's like, but we've been married 42. So anyway, there's a little bit of truth to that, right? But August is always very special to me. Also, it's just hot and I have a love-hate relationship with it. Some more anniversaries. I love that. I love that. So, and August 13th is the day kids start school. Hooray, hooray. All right. So I've just been chatting, chatting, chatting. We're welcoming our National Wellness Month. And what better way to celebrate it than to be on this Silk and Sonder journey, not just for ourselves, but with one another. And this is chapter 8 of 12. If we're looking at our year as a book, we are approaching chapter 8. And so we're going to say hello to August. Now, we do have some announcements. I am so excited. I'm putting together a Christmas in July event that is tomorrow evening. It is an exclusive event. There is a small fee, but if you're just needing to take a little break, carve out a solo date with yourself. If you're due your artist date and you need a little time with just yourself and you need your spirits lifted, this is going to be your time. So I want to personally invite you. This was actually added at the last minute because at one of the weekly setups, people were saying, I miss a Christmas in July social. We didn't have one last year. And we said, well, email headquarters. And so they listened. So here we go. Okay, Michelle says she has her ticket and you can't attend. We will miss you, but there will be a recording and you'll get the link to that. Since it's an exclusive, it's not going to go into the YouTube channel. So you'll get that private link. And I hope that the activities will still speak to you. It is so much fun to visit with our Sonder family, though, during that. So I'm super excited. Y'all turn your air conditioners down, go find your Christmas jammies, and get ready to explore a savoring Christmas in July moment. And then I want to share these community guidelines. It is, Beth Ann, you're asking them to, I think it's 8 o'clock because it's 7 Central. I always have trouble with the going forward and backward on the time. I'm 7 Central, and that's what time I'll be on. When we gather together, we share these community guidelines. You actually saw these when you became part of Sonder Club. If you have that app, and we remind everybody about the spaces that we create for one another. So just, a little quick overview. And of course, anytime you have questions for headquarters, hello at silkandsonder.com. Be sure to reach out to them. Jennifer and I don't have information on your own account there, so we won't be able to help you with that. But headquarters is very responsive and should be able to help you along. All righty. So we're saying goodbye to a month of savoring and we're welcoming in velocity. And I'm going to be honest with you and tell you, I saw velocity and the first thing I went to was physics. Oh, because I'm not that kind of a thinker. And for any engineers that we might have here, you might need to bump us along and help us figure out this month how velocity fits in our life. But I thought this was a great quote. We're really focusing on direction in our life when we think of velocity. And I've actually kind of recalled our time that we spent with the theme of momentum, which was, I believe, March of 2024. And so I'm thinking we're going to kind of get those same vibes about the direction that our life is moving in. But this quote, a little reminder, the compass came before the clock. Why? Well, direction has always been more important than speed. I love that. Focus on where you're headed, not how long it's taking. And that is such a beautiful reminder about our own personal journey. So I think that's going to be pretty special as we think about that. We don't have to do what anybody else. It's about our timing, our direction, our journey. So Kimberly L, I love that you loved momentum, that it was one of the top five. Maybe you'll be able to find that same feeling for velocity. I always say my number one was indulgence, and then I loved play as well. We should have like a gathering where we just share those top themes. So we start our time together by opening our journal and just right inside of that cover is a letter from Meha. I always say it's the love letter from our founder. She just tells us a little bit about like why this theme, what is she thinking, and then gives us a taste of what is to come. She kind of frames out and gets us started. So some things that popped out for me is that, of course, like I was talking about, or it's not just about speed. It's about direction. It's a momentum that aligns with your values, your joy, and your season of life because we are a community of multi-generational people, right? And some of us are college journeys, some are new careers. Courtney, you didn't miss anything. Welcome. We're just kind of introducing everything. Some of us are smack dab in the middle of the busiest time that we'll ever have in our life with career and family, and then there's folks like me who are in the second act of their life. So we're all over the map. So that's important when we think about our own personal season. It's about recalibration, taking a look at the adjustments we need to make for our minds, our bodies, our souls. And then it's letting ourselves be pulled forward. I love that image by purpose and not just pushed by pressure. And that's when we're probably not acting our best selves if we feel pushed by pressure. So, anyway, those are the things from Meha's letter that stuck out to me. I want to invite you to spend a little time with that this month. Our agenda will be monthly acrostic poem, and hooray, we have a page with an acrostic poem in it. Not every month has that acrostic poem page. So we love when we don't have to use a notes page for that. Yes, the tortoise and hare, Beth Ann, perfect. Slow and steady wins the race. Great imagery. If you're a doodler, that'd be fun to doodle somewhere in our setup. We're going to take time to reflect on our July, set our intentions for August with lots of guidance from one another. And then we will take a look at that mood tracker and habit tracker tonight. So let's get going and start thinking about our poem for the month, the acrostic poem. You know, this is a standard at our monthly setups. And the purpose of doing that is first off, poetry taps into a different part of your brain that you may not regularly use. So anytime we can do that and get those synapses firing, it's so good for us. I'll invite you to turn to page 19 and you can kind of start associating some words or phrases for velocity. And then we'll create this poem. And I have some examples. This is the second one of these setups. So we were able to pull some examples from the first one. You can do sentences, you can do one word, a set of words for each line. It's really up to you. So there's what our poem looks like. Now, I also want to tell you if velocity is not hitting for you right now, and you're not sure what that's going to look like, it maybe it's your birthday month. The word birthday fits in those spots. So perhaps you do a birthday acrostic poem, or you could welcome in the month of August with an August acrostic poem. You might want to wait on velocity if you're kind of trying to figure out what that could look like for you. Up to you. You could, yes, you could just do the word momentum if you want. Maya made this slide for all of us. She's another facilitator, as you know, and it's all these great V words because we know how they You can kind of get stuck sometimes. So this is great. This could be inspiring to begin that poem. And then I've got some examples to show you from Sonder family the other night. Maybe some of you are double dipping and you're here and you were there at the first setup. So if you see your poem here, shout out so we can say thank you to you. And Heather, I pulled that birthday version of an acrostic. I'm so glad that you posted it because I've been using it at my monthly setups because it's such a great way to embrace that new month if you're celebrating your birthday. Beth Ann said she's a double dipper, and Michelle's here for the second time. And Michelle's velocity poem is the upper right one. So thank you for sharing that in Sonder Club so I could grab that tonight for everyone. Appreciate that. Gail's a double dipper too. We love it. And then there's some alternate activities. Like if you're not feeling the vibe of a velocity acrostic right now, that's okay. This is your time. I love Joanna, a double D. You could take this time to welcome in, or maybe you did your acrostic and you're going to do a second activity to welcome in the month. You could write a letter to your friend or enemy, July, depending on how it went, and a hello note to August, welcoming in this fresh page and what you're hoping to grab for yourself this month. You could work on your velocity definition on page 3 of your journal and write a poem about velocity, either in haiku form or tanka form. And I have those forms written examples there. And then last month, Alicia we were doing or savoring, and she took the letter from Meha and highlighted the words that spoke to her in Meha's letter and then created a poem from that. That's a little bit like those blackout poems that you see where you black everything out except the words you want to keep. So a highlight or a blackout poem could also speak to you, get your brain thinking about velocity and what that could look like in your life. So I'm going to stop talking and put on some music while you work on this. And of course, we want to know, what are you doing? What are you going to be doing? And share that velocity poem because maybe some words that you fall into will speak to someone else. And then I forgot, I wanted to share one other thing. Perhaps you create some affirmations about moving forward and direction. I've got some like fill in the blank affirmations there. And so perhaps if you've done the velocity poem, this could be another thing to work on as you're considering velocity in your life for the month. All right, I'll go back and forth between these slides while you open up this month. I want to remind you that there is no time limit on these activities. So if you're still kind of brainstorming and thinking, that is a-okay. Perhaps you'll be able to sit with your journal later and work on some of these. Again, there's no pressure. If you're still, you're kind of getting a good start, but you might need a little more time. No worries, no worries. You've got all the time in the world to do that, but we are limited on our time together. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward into our July reflections. So I like to take this page 8, and I like to divide it up. So we're going to work on our wins, our challenges, and our favorite moments first, and I'll put on some music for that, and then we'll work on our start, stop, and continue space. So those wins are going to be the things that you are celebrating from the month. And they can be tiny things like I took my vitamins, 90%, 90% of the time. Or it could be something really big that you are celebrating. Things that made you smile, that you're happy about, that you're proud of. And then, of course, we've got those challenges that come our way because life is full of balance. So I'm sure there were some bad things, those stumbling blocks, things that were frustrating, could be people that were frustrating, situations that you're working on that are not resolved yet. Those are the kinds of things that can be challenging. And then, of course, just like what were your favorite moments? Like what would be that snapshot of, that would encapsulate your favorite moments from the month. Some tips are go back if you have your July journal, go take a look backward through your roses, your buds, and your thorns and celebrate those good things, the roses and the buds with your wins, and throw those challenges. Those thorns can go in the challenge space. We also suggest pulling up your phone and maybe scrolling through your camera roll. What caught your eye? What was worthy of taking a picture or snapping a screenshot of? You might want to look at your calendar. Where was your time spent? And how are you celebrating that way? And maybe finding those favorite moments you might have forgotten about. So I'm going to put on a little bit of music while you work on this space, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about the bottom part of the page, and I'll put on some more music for you to finish up the page. And then, of course, as always, feel free to share as you're comfortable. Anything you want from your wins, your challenges, and those favorite moments. Elizabeth, I am so sorry. Thank you for sharing. I know that's got to be hard. So yeah, y'all can drop those things in the chat because sometimes it just feels good to share, right? And yeah, we kind of look at like favorite moment is this right now, looking at a fresh new month and a new start. So that's what I love about our journal subscription is that when we do have those months that are difficult, we can open up these fresh pages and it's like, wow, okay, there's just something mentally about seeing the potential in that. We don't have to wait for January to roll around to start a new calendar. We get to do it every month, chapter 8, right? So you continue to work on this page. I know I didn't give you a ton of time. It takes a little bit more than 4 minutes or so to write all the things, but I do want to talk about the bottom. So keep writing, but sort of listen. And we have this stop, start, and continue, or start, stop, and continue space. And I think this is an especially important space this month. I always say this is like our foundation for the month, or but when we're thinking about the idea of direction of our life and that momentum that comes with looking at a new theme like velocity, this can really be the basis of everything else that happens for the rest of the month. How we set up our goals and our habits and all the things we want to get done and how we're going to take care of ourselves. So in the start space, of course, those are things that we might need to either start or restart. Maybe you've lost a habit that served you well and you have kind of slipped. We were saying, July's just wilty. We all feel wilted from this heat. The whole country's so hot and ugh. And so, maybe you've slacked off of something that was once very important to you. So maybe you put a little RE in front of that start and it's something you're going to restart. The things that you want to do to get better results in your life. Of course, the things that aren't working, we want to stop. So, are there some areas in your life that you want to fine tune a couple of things and just stop doing? I've slacked way off on like my health. I was doing really good like in end of May through most of June, and then again just feeling wilted, not wanting to walk when it's 103 outside. And so, I got to stop stopping. I got to stop making excuses is what I need to do. But there are things that we're doing that are not helping us be our best selves. So that goes in the stop space. And then, of course, we have to talk about the things that we are doing correct, the things that we feel are the right things for us. Even if they're hard, there may be some boundaries that you're working on and you're enforcing them, and it's hard, but it's so good. So those are the kinds of things we want to continue. Now, some tips with this. Perhaps you make it a theme. So, many of our educators will be going back to school. Maybe this is how you're going to start your school year. And what do you want to start as an educator, stop as an educator, and continue? Perhaps this is about a relationship or, with a particular person or health or wellness. Maybe there's a core value you want to work on through the lens of starting, stopping, and continuing. So there's a lot of ways to set that up. I want to show you how some Sonder family members have used this space. This is, if you're not sure exactly where to start, ask yourself some questions like, what do I want to start doing? And then why? When you figure out why that's important to you, then you can do how. And maybe take a first step and document that in this space. And then that will better inform how we go forward with setting up the other parts of our journal. We can see this one that's kind of on the upper example here. The question is, who do I want to be and what must I do to have what I want? And so they've got their boxes divided up into be, have, and do. And so I want to be less burned out, less stressed, more accepting. Say, because I want to have energy and enthusiasm and more joy and peace of mind. And then what do I need to do for that to happen? And those things are listed there. And then the one below that, it's like one thing and it is directed by this whole box, this whole space. I want to start using my daily pages and how am I going to do that? And that's listed there, how they're going to make that happen. And I know y'all are seeing some of your examples. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then answering the question why. Anytime you can really sit with yourself and say, why is this important? Or why do I need to take better care of myself? And you just keep asking why, you're going to boil it down to really good answers. We also have this formula if you want to repurpose or tweak this space a little bit, and that's saying, I feel this way because of this, and I want to feel or I need blank. And you can see how both of these spaces have embraced that formula. Again, another way of just kind of setting the foundation for the month as we start looking at our direction and moving forward with velocity. So I'm going to put on some music. Y'all finish this upper part of the page and work on your start, stop, and continue space. And let us know if you're comfortable what you'll be doing this month. Thank you for sharing. There's a little bit of talk about having a monthly bingo page, and I always have a weekly bingo set up in my little shopping. I repurpose that shopping list space, so that could be a way to work in some bingo in your life. If you don't want to do a whole monthly thing, maybe divide some things out and do it week to week. I am definitely a team bingo person. I love to color those in. Thank you so much for sharing. Maggie shared a sweet story about her anniversary, and it just made me smile. So thank you for letting us share that journey with you, Maggie. That's so much fun. So while you're kind of tidying up the space and finishing it up, we're going to take this knowledge of what we want to start and stop and continue. And may it influence our intentions for this month. We're going to find our intentions on page 9. And very quickly, I'm going to show you. I'm working on my August intentions, but in July, I just did 4 intentions. So, oh goodness, my blurry, but I have the spaces divided out into 4. I kind of like drew spaces. So that's a reminder to you that you don't have to embrace every single one of these topics. As I did spiritual health, personal life, physical health, and then I created one just creative life. And so I did 4 for my July. And I think I'm going to duplicate that. And, you can see my personal life, were actually some affirmations about some things, that I'm just working on relationship wise. And so that's how I influence my personal life. And then physical health. I talked about, I'm really trying to kind of theme my decisions based on what does this mean for 90-year-old me? So my physical health was framed out through that lens, and that's how I set that intention. But you're welcome to use those 6 spaces as well. Just there's permission. I'm giving you permission to not worry about all 6 if that's not what you need in your life right now. And again, this is National Wellness Month. So what does wellness look like? Maybe through the idea of spiritual health, personal life. What does wellness look like through money management? So perhaps you can provide yourself that lens to look at that. And it pairs really nicely with the idea of velocity and finding direction. August has some fun things happening, so maybe some of that will show up in a space for your intentions. We want to keep our intentions very broad. It's not a to-do list, which is something I struggle with. I love to make lists, but it's more of like a feeling, how you want to feel in each of those categories. These This graphic of 5 days to schedule every month can be a great way to inform the spaces that are on this intentions page. Maybe, your money management space becomes you're going to give yourself a learning day, and you dive into some things involving your financial well-being. Or maybe your fun day informs your personal life space. So I thought that was some good inspiration for that. If you're not sure what to do, grab some post-it notes. Have your little post-it notes ready and just start scribbling down some ideas. Maybe you're not quite ready to commit to paper. You want to work on these ideas a little bit longer. You might want to really dig into velocity or wellness, as I said. And I've got some really great examples to show you for setting the space up. You could use your favorite song title or lyrics or a quote, a poem, a verse. So let's look at some examples. Here's that page, and then we've got some national things that happen during the month, like Dog Month, Wellness Month, Goat Cheese Month, Sandwich Month, Happiness, Crayon Collection Month, Golf. Um, Eye exam month, a good reminder. Perhaps that informs your physical health space. When was the last time you had your eyes checked? Family Fun Month. So some of those you could just embrace this idea of the national month of and put that there. And then we've got some beautiful examples from y'all. Some are old, some are new. Maybe you doodle in these spaces, you tap into that artist part of your brain. The one in the middle, I often share because there's this one word that's driving each of the intention spaces, and there is the mood tracker being repurposed as a place to check in to make sure that these spaces are being checked on, right? Like I've set those intentions, and now I'm going to hold myself accountable by checking in and tracking that via the intentions tracker that has been repurposed from the mood tracker. We've got some beautiful quotes over there on the upper right. And again, that reminder to focus on direction, not speed. The idea of putting little flaps over these things, maybe you put your intention on the bottom and then you use a post-it note or a little piece of paper and some washi tape, and you do a supportive scripture or quote or affirmation so that it's kind of a dual purpose page. You notice the one on the right, all of those categories have been tweaked to really embrace where this person wants to focus for the month. So instead of spiritual health, they're using that space for empowered choices. So all of those have been renamed, and oftentimes I will repurpose the professional goals to learning goals, so that I'm challenging myself to read some nonfiction, to watch some good documentaries, that kind of stuff. We've got examples of just using stickers to kind of embrace the feeling you want in these intentions, like the one you see in the upper left. Sometimes stickers are great when words don't come. There's the idea of doing what you want more of and what you need less of in each one of these categories. So you can see the example there on the bottom. I always love the physical health, more stretching and yoga and less bed rotting. I thought that was kind of funny. And then we've got, again, some more doodles. You can use the monthly theme very specifically in each of these spaces. So the example I have up there was when the theme was connection, but it shows you how they use that. So you can kind of think about velocity. I'm creating direction in what way? And then the bottom one shows you statements that can support intentions. They're kind of like your very own personal affirmations. So you've got these statements with I will fill in the blank. I commit to whatever works for you. I can. Maybe you start each one of these spaces with I can, and you fill that out. And then I thought this one was set up in a really lovely way. The one on the left, it's stopping and pausing and saying, okay, how do I want to feel in each of these categories? And so they've answered that question. And then what am I going to work on to support how, whatever that is, that feeling I want? And so I'm going to work on, like, I want to feel grounded. I'm going to work on the grounding techniques, and my habits are going to be less social media and relaxing. Very simple and to the point, and can very much influence how the rest of your month goes, how you set up from week to week to week. And then the one next to that, I just, it's kept simple. Personal life has been repurposed into home. So again, it's about making it what works for you. And if you're thinking about doing less than six, maybe you do the top four, and you use the bottom two spaces, you just cover those up and use them as check-in points. or some tweaking points when you check in with yourself. What are you noticing? Is there anything you need to change about your intentions? So I'm going to go back through all these slides while you start working on that. I'm going to give you a little bit of time and feel free to share. First off, if you're going to do less than six intentions, and then if you're renaming any of these categories, and maybe some things that have worked for you in the past that you've brought forward every single month. And Beth Ann's talking about the beige, like whiteout tape. It's the best, isn't it? The ones that kind of match our page a little bit better. I love those. So yeah, that's that. You can get those on Amazon. Yeah, it kind of matches. I'll show you. Mine is Weliu, but if you just do, it looks like this, and they've got several different brands on Amazon. We can try to find that link for you, but yeah, it's a little bit of a beigey color. So, well, it's kind of hard to see, but it does cover up better than just like straight white out. So there's a little fun pro tip for you. So I'm gonna stop talking now, and I'm gonna show you those slides again for our intention work this month. good working on these intentions. Make sure that you put a plan in place to check back in with yourself on these. Make sure you're holding yourself accountable for, when it's August 20th and we're still feeling wilty, how can you go back and make sure that you are doing the things that you said you want to do? Does that look like something that goes in your habit and activity tracker from week to week so that do the things you want to do and remind yourself of where you were sitting at the front end of the month. Hold yourself accountable in some way because it's so easy to forget. You're putting in this work, and it's sometimes we forget to go back and take a look at it and do that check-in. And it's also important, like to check in, and if it's not like, oh, I wanted to feel stronger for my physical health, like this example here on the screen, and I got food poisoning, and so now my physical health needs to be focused on recovery for the next 10 days in August, right? And you may close out the month with a different intention, and so give yourself permission to always tweak as needed, because we're not stagnant people, so we're always changing. So now we're going to go take a look at those two fabulous trackers that we have, and we'll start with the mood tracker, and that's going to be found. Whoops, I closed my journal just as I was talking to you. Page 10. So just flip the page over. It's page 10 for the mood tracker. And if you're doing this for the very first time, we're going to suggest, kind of going light with the feels. We're going to give you some examples for that. But the reason we track moods is we can look for trends in our life. And then when we notice trends, we can make changes. So when you start paying attention to your mood, you may discover that, when you're doing these check-ins, that maybe your work days look different from your at-home days. So let's just talk about this tracker a little bit. We've got the circle tracker this month. There are two forms of mood trackers, and they'll either look like the hexagon shapes that you see on top or the circle. So last month was hexagon. So if you're a team circle, this is your month. And definitely, I know people have preferences. It kind of depends on what I'm using mine for. I do repurpose mine a lot. I'll show you. But when I use it for a book tracker, I prefer the hexagons. I don't know why. It just does. But I will also give you a pro tip. This is a great tracker to incorporate in other areas of your life. So while it's blank, maybe go scan a copy of it and use it at your desk for some work task. Or maybe you want to make sure you're taking a midday little breath break. And so you track it using this tracker. Or maybe, there's five little ways to take a break, and it sits on your desk. So this is a good one to maybe scan in and use it in other ways, not just in the journal as your mood tracker. So we can focus on our theme. We're going to look at the feelings wheel so you can get those words that you're trying to capture. And there's lots of ways to fill this in. Lots of folks will maybe do a morning check-in and an evening check-in, or like an evening check-in, and think overall, how did I feel today? It's really up to you. So here's that feelings wheel with lots of words, lots of feelings on it. The words that are on the outside of that circle are also found in the core. And if you're doing one of these for the first time, those are a beautiful place to start, those words that are in the very core. And then you can fan out into those different pieces of pie to get something very specific with you. Um, yeah, and I don't, Kimberly says she's opposed to mood tracking. I don't do a mood tracker. I always repurpose it for something else. So I've got examples of both. And that's why we're here. We're here to, affirm that you use your journal the way that works for you, with lots of examples of repurposing. So I want to point out a couple of things that I think are very powerful when you are using this tracker. If you're using it in conjunction with a day-to-day thing, notice this one on the left. All the weekends have boxes drawn around them. So anytime your days look different, that's right there. You can look and delineate. Most of her weekends have at least one joy sticker there, right? And so when she's standing back looking at this tracker, she notices, oh, during the week, I didn't really use the joy sticker. And so then that could be that aha moment to go, I need to be intentional with finding moments of joy within those work days, right? So there's that data. It's just data. And you can see how other folks have set this up. The one that's on the bottom right is an AM and PM checker. So they're kind of starting their day, doing a pulse check, and then ending their day with a pulse check. So lots of ways to use that. And then, of course, we love repurposing. So I've got several examples to share with you. These are both so powerful. If you are finding yourself in a slump, and you need a mood boost, this is a great go-to tool to create for yourself. So both of these show some positive ways to boost a mood. Reading, time with friend, going to a Sonder Social, or maybe watching a repeat, spending time with loved ones, getting an emotional support coffee, going for a walk, listening to worship music, eating a fruit or vegetable. So there's this menu to select from when your mood needs a little boosting. I think this is both of these examples are so powerful. Because then we're not left to our own devices, right? We've already put this in paper, and it's a quick go-to if you need that lift in your spirit. Some people will track anxiety. Maybe this becomes a spending tracker, symptoms, reading tracker for your, or a book tracker, or a number of pages. I just write the title of the book, give it a color, and if I've read, it doesn't matter if I read 5 minutes or 5 hours that day. I just color that day in with that color. Spending tracker, workout, activities. Maybe you track your blood glucose here. It could be a symptom tracker. Maybe you rate your day on a scale of. Do a little self-care. Do make this your self-care tracker. It's all very much about you. Here we've got physical care tracker, a calm tracker, an activity tracker, and then a manifest happiness tracker. So just kind of being intentional with how am I gonna make happiness happen in my life. So lots of great ways to repurpose that. I'm going to put on music while you do this tracker and share. Are you using it as a mood tracker? What are you tracking? And because you'll probably inspire somebody else who's not sure how they're going to use this. I'll go back through these slides so you can take another look or grab a screenshot if something spoke to you. appreciate how nicely you support one another as you either use this for your moods or you repurpose it for something that better connects in your life. My favorite story to share about a mood tracker is Maya had a setup one time, and somebody had shared that her husband, she was using it as a mood tracker and tracking her moods. And her husband said, "You're always in such a bad mood." And she went and got it out and went, "No, I'm not." And she had the data because she had really been focusing on, her moods. And so it's always about what works for you. And again, if you love this tracker, use it in other ways. Repurpose it for lots of different things. Put it on your fridge and have a family tracker for something. The chores of the day or whatever. So now we're going to just slide over to the next page, which is your habit tracker. And I want to point you back to your start, stop, and continue space. How can that space that you filled out earlier inform this habit tracker? Are there some habits that will support those things you want to start or the things you want to stop? Or, of course, the things you want to continue. And when you put those continue things on that tracker, you're already giving yourself a couple of wins. It's also good if you're doing something already to pair a new habit with that thing that you're already doing. Then that's going to increase the likelihood that that new habit's going to kick in. So you can pick a theme for this. Maybe you're really going to focus on, feeling a certain way, feeling grounded, feeling a sense of direction, using velocity as your focus. And then again, find that balance. Don't just start with a fresh slate every month. Like bring some things over that you've been working on. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Maybe every single habit you tracked last month shows up here. Notice how this example on the right, again, we're delineating the days that look different. So the weekends are highlighted there. You can also write around the outside of your habit tracker to show what's going on. And you don't have to just check it off or put a dot or color it in. I use this to track my steps one month. That's my example. I had not been moving like I should. And so I just wrote the actual number of steps in there for accountability. And then I colored in some things. And I also had a place where I was making social connections with people in my life. And so either I called or I texted or checked in, and I just put the person's initial there to track that. So you don't have to just color that in. And some of these things can also show up in that habit and activity tracker for your week to week. That tracker can look exactly the same. You can have some of the same things on both trackers, or the habit and activity tracker in the weekly part can just reflect that week. You can notice someone is giving this habit tracker a new name. They're using it as a symptom tracker, and they're tracking all these things that they're experiencing, hot flashes and night sweats and migraines and such. But man, to have that data in one place and then you take it to your healthcare provider is amazing. And then, of course, that reminder, if you miss days, it's okay. Give yourself grace, like you see there. This is data. And I can tell you many times when I realized I wrote in a habit that I wanted to do, and I look back and it happened 2 out of 15 days, it was time for me to go back and change that habit up because obviously I wasn't ready to embrace the habit in the way I initially wrote it. So always give yourself permission to tweak and take what you need. That's just real important. We got to be good to ourselves, friends. And you can see someone else is using their habit. This, I love how this one's all filled out. They've written on the outside of it. They've written their rest days in within the weekends. And then the example on the right is reminding us we don't have to fill out every line. This person's tracking the top four for the month. And then I love this one on the left because there's like that wheel of life there. And so they're focusing on a thing for each piece of pie there. And then the one on the right is delineating the holidays and weekends from the regular days. And maybe you choose to give yourself, oh, thank you, Melody, for sharing. Maybe you choose to give yourself some days off and you black those out. So it again, it's about doing what you need to do. I'm gonna put on a little bit of music. I'll go back through those trackers and let us know what habits are you tracking this month. And if you're theming it, anything you're doing special that might inspire each other. Ooh, our time always goes by so quickly. I want to thank you for carving out this time for yourself, but also when you show up for everybody, we just feel like our journey is so much more fruitful because we can glean information and support from one another. So, this has been recorded. If you saw something you didn't get a chance to grab it, you'll be able to do that. Um, you saw many people say, "Hey, that's mine." So we want to encourage you to share all of your setup, part of your setup. Let us know what you're doing. That gives us the opportunity to get some new things to share with the whole family, the Silk and Sonder family at large. So drop that in Sonder Club. We'd love to see that. Want to shout out to an event that will be coming in August, a back to school event with Mayha. Back to school, back to you. We're going to get off autopilot, back in control. We always love when Meha brings the hype, right? She's so proud of this beautiful Silk and Sonder experience. And so we love to hang out with her. So that's going to be on August the 18th. And it is a free space, free social. So we'll want to see you there. And then Silk and Sonder has something new developing in the coaching land. If you are on the coaching app, the coaching platform, they are working on getting a relationship reading. So go check that out in Sonder Coach. And you can look at that with a partner, with someone who's important in your life, and get a vibe for that relationship. Of course, another shout out to a coaching. If you haven't checked that out, do that. And then there's our playlist for tonight. I hope that I see you all tomorrow for Christmas in July. We'll embrace a little bit of spirit and take a break from this hot summer. Thank you so much for showing up for one another tonight. I send you lots of light and love. Team Jennifer loved hanging with you. Make it a good one, Sandra.
Last night